now present For the Record.
This morning on For the Record, we take a look at the growing need for food banks in our community and how funding in Dane County is making it difficult to keep up. Plus, as a TikTok ban hits federal court, we're talking to an expert about the future of the app. But first, absentee ballots started hitting mailboxes this week. The lessons the Dane County clerk says his office learned in 2020. Welcome to For the Record. I'm Braden Ross. Will Keneally has the day off. We're still 43 days away from Election Day, but here in Wisconsin, voters can already start casting their ballots. Earlier this week, I sat down with Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald to talk about how his office is preparing and the lessons they took from the last presidential election. Scott, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So obviously we're coming up on this week where ballots are going to start being sent out. This is the week that you've been waiting for all year, I'm assuming. How has it been? How have you been preparing? And what are you doing to get ready?
Yeah, it's been a long time waiting for this election. Yeah, ballots are going to go out this week. That process has been normal. You know, the hiccup being, concern about some of these court cases that are going on. But besides that, everything's on schedule.
Let's talk about that court case with, I'm assuming you're referring to specifically the big one, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Where are we at with that, and how does that impact what you guys do in terms of when you can send out ballots and what's on them?
Well, it's in court right now. There was an initial ruling to not take it up right away. So I'm expecting that to be adjudicated in the next couple of days. For us, though, we couldn't delay printing the ballots. We have so many to print. We had to go ahead and print them. Otherwise, we fail to meet our statutory deadlines on when they have to go out to, say, overseas military voters. So they're printed. They're being delivered now. From my point of view, the law was so crystal clear. You have to be dead. You can't just want to be off the ballot. In some of these other states, it was, the statutes weren't written as clearly, so you saw different decisions in like North Carolina. But talking to my corporation counsel, we felt very confident that we had to print the ballots. They had to go out.
One of the other court cases we've talked about a lot this year had to do with ballot drop boxes. Obviously, we saw that decided and that drop boxes will be allowed in Wisconsin. But if there's people out there who are nervous about that, maybe about the safety of their own ballot or about others' ballots because of those drop boxes, is there anything you would say to them to kind of like quell some of those fears?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, what is a mailbox other than a drop box? The security, for example, in the Madison drop boxes, they're in front of a fire station with a camera on them. They couldn't be any more secure, honestly. So I have total confidence in them and how the clerks handle it with a chain of custody, documenting everything. So people should be really confident with the security around drop boxes. My concern is really folks need to know whether they have a drop box, because not every community will have one. So with the fact that Wisconsin is one of those states where if your ballot arrives late, it won't get counted. It doesn't matter if you put it in the mail on time. You really need to know whether you have a drop box in your community. A lot of the rural areas are opting not to install them for whatever reason. So check to make sure that your community actually has one that you can use.
I want to talk about this election compared to last. Obviously, in 2020, your office and election clerk offices around the country faced a lot of scrutiny. Are you expecting that level of scrutiny again this year? And is there anything you're doing differently because of how 2020 played out?
Yeah, we expect a lot of scrutiny. We're kind of used to that by now. I think a lot of what we're spending our time on is just trying to anticipate potential problems, maybe attacks on our website or other possible disruptions. So we spent a lot of time training on that, having contingency plans. So that's really been the thing that's different, that's taking up a lot of our time. But I feel like we're in a pretty good place right now.
And then also in 2020, violence was something that we were concerned about, especially for election officials. Is that something you're worried about again this year? And is there anything you're doing proactively to kind of protect yourselves?
Yeah, that's been an unfortunate, trend for election officials. We have, I feel like we're in a better spot. Our officers have better security, just physical security. Same with a lot of the clerks around the county. And, they've changed the penalties for threatening election officials. So I think that's had an effect. Same with the prosecutions on those who, January 6th, who attacked the Capitol. I think those prosecutions are helpful because I think some people didn't think what they were doing was problematic. And now I think that message is out there. So that's helpful. We've also tried to do things to protect, clerks' identity online, remove information that could lead to doxing. And, we've done a lot to try to prepare ourselves for this cycle.
And of course, a lot of that we'll have to see how it plays out in November and after the fact as well, but it sounds like you're well prepared. So deadlines, what do people need to know if they're getting those ballots in the mail this week? When do they need to have them returned by? And what are the deadlines you want people to be thinking about?
Yeah, I think what I always tell people is if they get their ballot in the mail, try to return it as soon as possible. You can track your ballot on MyVote. So a really good website to bookmark is myvote.wi.gov. It'll tell you that your ballot had been mailed. It'll tell you that it was received. And so you can have that confidence, where your ballot is. So, but I always say return it as soon as you can, either by mail or via Dropbox. The last time you can get a ballot is the Thursday before the election. I would say don't mail it. Don't put it in the mail after that Friday before the Tuesday. At that point, you're going to want to deliver it either Dropbox or in person in the clerk's office. The mail will probably make it, but it just makes me nervous. So, but just plan ahead and should be fine.
Absolutely. Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck this election season.
Oh, my pleasure.
Now, I spoke with Scott before the latest developments in Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s fight to remove his name from Wisconsin ballots. The Wisconsin Supreme Court said on Friday it will make the final determination on the case after the Wisconsin Elections Commission asked them to. The Supreme Court says it will rule, quote, as expeditiously as possible, even though, like you heard Scott say there, ballots have already been printed and some have been started to be mailed out. We'll be right back.
This portion of News 3 Now is sponsored by Madison Gas and Electric.
Every spring, the love of my life came here to paint. Cress helped us make sure she's never forgotten.
We are Cress. We truly believe your memories matter.
We all know costs are too high, but while corporations are gouging families, Trump is focused on giving them tax cuts. But Kamala Harris is focused on you.
Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
She'll make groceries more affordable by cracking down on price gouging. And she'll cut housing costs by taking on corporate speculators. Middle-class families build America. We need a leader who has their back.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Sure, I'm a paid actor, and this isn't a real company, but there's no way to fake how Upwork can help your business. Search talent all over the world with over 10,000 skills you may not have in-house. More than 30% of the Fortune 500 use Upwork, because this is how we work now.
Announcing the winners of Madison Magazine's Best of Madison Readers Poll for 2024. Congratulations to North and South Seafood and Smokehouse for their wins in the food and drink category, including gold for Best Barbecue. See all the winners on MadisonMagazine.com.
This shouldn't take too long, should it?
Oh no, I'll have your unit up and running in a jiffy. Oh, sorry, I have to go to the shop and get another part. Sorry, I don't have that part either. Sorry, I don't have that part either.
But you said it would be quick.
At Cardinal, we respect your time as much as you do. That's why our technicians come prepared with fully stocked trucks, ready to handle most issues in just one visit. Discover the difference. Call Cardinal.
Welcome back. Food banks like Second Harvest in Madison are facing a growing need in the community, but their funding isn't keeping up. Dane County released its proposed 2025 budget this past Wednesday, and it does not include money for Second Harvest despite their request for help from the county. But according to Dane County officials, that's because state law prohibits the county from directly funding nonprofits. Our Ellie LaLiberte sat down with Second Harvest president and executive director Michelle Orge to hear what the food bank plans to do now.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for talking with us today. So we're kind of talking about that 2025 budget and the need of the food bank here. So tell me a little bit about the demand that you're seeing here and what resources you need to meet that.
During the pandemic, the needs spiked, and everyone saw that. And we had some resources that helped us with that, and those resources have been changing as we've come out of the pandemic. But the need hasn't decreased; it's actually gone up. And we've seen, last year we saw need increase by about 30%, and it's up 20% above that this year already. We have partners who are reporting record months, record weeks, even in the past, recently. And some are seeing 2 to 3 times the number of folks coming for food requests. Some are seeing folks that are coming more often. Some are seeing folks coming for the first time. It's not slowing down, and folks our partners are turning to Second Harvest for that support, and we've been able to provide that support through funding that we secure through private donations, as well as this supplemental funding that we get through Farm to Food Bank from Dane County, and that's something that's really important to us, and we were not included in this year's budget.
Yeah, and so to kind of talk about that, you weren't included in this budget. So, you had gone to the county to ask for those funds. So can you tell me what this means to not be included in that?
Yes, our partners in us, our farm partners, a lot of folks benefit from this. This Second Harvest is the official recipient of these funds, but this isn't funding for Second Harvest. This is funding for folks in Dane County that are experiencing food insecurity, and the families who really need this food to thrive. The funding comes to Second Harvest. We use it to purchase food locally from farmers, from vendors, from producers. And that money that stays in our community, it helps the local economy. For every dollar that we spend on the program, it spurs $1.60 in economic activity. So this is money that stays in our community. And ultimately, the most important part is that it supports folks who live right here in Dane County. And without this funding continuing, it's the folks in Dane County that are going to feel it. This is funding that has helped us for the past 4 years to fill those gaps, and our partners are already having a hard time meeting needs, and this is going to be a big hit for them. But most importantly, to folks, to families who are struggling with food insecurity, it's really tough, and it's going to be felt by a lot of folks in Dane County.
And so, if I understand correctly, since the pandemic, you've been getting like $31 million in federal COVID relief funding through the Dane County Executive Office. So can you talk to me a little bit about what that money means?
Yeah, it's about $5 to $6 million in support a year that we use for food purchasing, and that's been since the beginning. It's been about 14 million meals worth of food, and it's a lot of fresh produce, dairy, meat. It's really it's food that folks are providing to their families. It's nutritious food, and without that, partners are going to may have to provide less food per family, different types of food, be open fewer hours possibly. It's going to be tough, and for a family in Dane County there's the United Way calculates how much a family in Dane County needs to survive. It's a survival budget. For a family of 4 with 2 kids in daycare, it's about $100,000 to be able to not need additional support. And only a third of families in Dane County actually meet this threshold. And the help that's there for them are Second Harvest in our pantries and our pantry partners. So this is going to affect so many folks in our community that are, we might not know it now, but it's going to, starting in January, it's going to be a really big deal for a lot of folks.
So what happens now? What are the next steps to take and things like that?
We know that it's a tough choice. We heard County Executive Kuhn share a lot of really important things that were funded in the initial cut of pass of the budget, and we can't say that those things aren't important. Every single thing in there is important, has merit, and we're going to be asking the county to take another look and see if there's other ways that we can still maintain at least some level of funding into the next year. We are going to share more information, our partners, the community. We need folks to really express how important this is. And I think that, we've been there for the past 4 years. We've been partnering with Dane County. Dane County originally asked us to do this because they saw Second Harvest as a really strong partner to be able to connect the food in the community, the need for getting the food from the producers to the folks who really are facing food insecurity. And so we still are the partner that can do this, but the support's not going to be there. We'll continue to do what we can to get that food out there, to use other funding to purchase from farmers, because we're still committed to that. But it's going to be such a smaller program, and it's just not going to stretch as far. So we're going to be talking to the county. We're going to be talking to the Board of Supervisors. We're going to be, sharing what we can to help them understand how important this is. I know they know how important this is, and I know there's not enough funds to go around for every single request, but we need to share how important this is to have at least some level of funding included in future iterations of the budget for 2025.
So thank you so much for talking with us.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll be right back.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit MGE2050.com.
Their Bidenomics led to the highest inflation in 40 years, highest gas prices ever, skyrocketing interest rates, unaffordable housing, incomes down, unemployment rising, and a recession now headed our way. Yet Kamala Harris is clueless.
We are very proud of Bidenomics. Bidenomics is working.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
I'm so happy. I just put this dress on that I haven't worn in over 10 years.
I just this morning made a new hole in my belt, so that was super exciting.
Why are women everywhere choosing Sonobello, the advanced solution for permanent fat removal?
I saw the results immediately. It's the best I have felt since I was in my 20s.
My waist is tiny. I'm very, very happy.
I'm nearly 50, y'all, and my abs haven't been this flat since before I've had kids.
For a limited time, take advantage of Sonobello's best offer of the year. Sonobello's board-certified surgeons use micro-laser technology to safely target and remove your diet-resistant fat cells for good on your stomach, hips and thighs, back, and so much more.
Check it out, Snatch Waist. Loving the results.
It will change your life. It did for me.
Call 1-888-510-6198 now, or go to sonobello.com to claim special pricing.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit MGE2050.com.
Welcome back. TikTok is fighting for its survival as it faces a looming January deadline. U.S. lawmakers and the app's parent company faced off in federal court this week. Our Maddie Heims sat down with Madison College marketing professor Steve Knoll this week to break down the case and find out whether or not we can expect to keep scrolling next year.
So the TikTok ban, quote unquote ban, is heading to the federal courts today. U.S. lawmakers are arguing that it may be a security problem, and then ByteDance is arguing that that's a First Amendment violation. Tell me a little bit more about how the First Amendment coincides with our use of social media.
Right. So the idea of let's talk about a ban. It's not really a ban. It's the U.S. government feels that there is technology within TikTok that basically the app may be spying on you. So if you have the TikTok app on your phone, and then you use your phone to access information like proprietary private information, TikTok, and by extension, the Chinese government can get access to it. They can literally hack into, trade secrets, commercial secrets, military secrets, if the user of the app also has that on their phone or other digital device. So that's really the big concern, and that's what kind of put this all into place. Now, the TikTok people saying that they have the right to, run the business, and people choose to use TikTok. So therefore, it really is kind of like up to the user. That's where the First Amendment part comes in. On the flip side, of course, then is the app is designed to actually psychologically be addictive. It learns very quickly what type of content you like, and then it shows you just enough where you scroll to the next one and the next one and the next one. So it's really designed almost like how a drug affects the brain. And that is, most social media apps are kind of very similar to but TikTok's is very, very well made. It knows what it's doing, and it does it very, very well.
And you talk about how other social media platforms, there's those similar concerns. Why are we zoned in on TikTok? Should we be looking at all of our social media?
Well, yes. All social media works this way. It is all designed to be addictive in some way. TikTok is just really good at it. And that's the thing. It's like all social media wants you to keep looking, and they will use their algorithm to continue delivering content that they think is relevant to you. And it brings up a lot of ethical concerns about this addictive nature. All the social media apps, people have worried about excessive psychological addiction, but the one thing about TikTok is it just does it so well. That's the difference. So I think, and I think that's by design, but I think all apps want to do it well. The big question is, what are they doing with this information? And therein lies the reason why it's in court right now.
Yeah, and you talked earlier about it not necessarily being a quote-unquote ban. I want to go back to that. Right. Dive a little deeper. What exactly is it for just those of us who scroll on TikTok?
Over several years, they've talked about what can be done. They even talked about putting together a third-party company that could kind of work as kind of like an interface of the user's data along with the owner, and that never went anywhere. So eventually, what happened was a law got introduced that basically said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Is we're going to give ByteDance, the parent company, a window of time to basically sell it to an American-run company. Okay, and ByteDance has said it's not for sale. So they pretty much stalemated. Today's trial that started out is really about ByteDance trying to say, no, this is First Amendment. We have the right to do this. And I think if it's just First Amendment, if this data was just, scrolling for fun and trying to match up consumers, that have a cat to a pet store that sells them cat food, I don't think we've been having this conversation. The issue is that the app does more than that. And even the IT people, when they've looked at the code in the app, have said there's stuff in the code, we don't know what this does. They can't figure it out. And this is what precipitated a law. And this is a bipartisan law. This isn't a, right versus left ideal. They came together on this, and they passed this law that basically says you've got this window of time until the beginning of next year to find a buyer. If you find a buyer, we'll give you another 6 months to kind of, complete the deal. The question, though, is what will TikTok be then? Okay, because taking over a new company, the one thing that people like about TikTok is that advertising is there, but it's minimal. Well, it's because it's being subsidized by the Chinese government. So if you take that away, the new TikTok would have to generate revenue, which means more advertising, which means the allure of TikTok will not be what it is. Now, on the other hand, we could say, nope, we don't find a buyer, in which case then the government could step in and shut it down. In which case that'll get very complicated to do, because almost everyone I know has access to VPN and other types of way to access, programming that's available in, say, Europe and not the United States. People go on the internet and they're able to download it and view it and all this stuff. There'll be ways around it, but the average person probably won't be able to do it. So could TikTok be gone in a year? Maybe. If TikTok stays around, will it be the same TikTok? Maybe. Will nothing change between now and then? Maybe.
We'll be right back.
This election is about two very different visions for our nation. One focused on the future, and the other focused on the past. When the middle class is strong, America is strong. Lowering the cost of living will be a defining goal of my presidency. I'll lower the cost of insulin and prescription drugs for everyone, and I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food. More than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut. We will end America's housing shortage by building 3 million new homes and rentals that are affordable for the middle class. Together, we will build an economy where everyone can compete and have a real chance to succeed. Now is the time to chart a new way forward.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Accidents don't just happen Monday through Friday or during the daytime hours. That's why our team is here for you every day, evenings, weekends, and holidays. Because we understand how important it is to get you the help you need immediately, to answer your questions, and to start building your case as quickly as possible. No matter when your accident happens, the help you need is just one call away. Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
I'm Tammy Baldwin. I approve this message.
We found out our baby had severe fetal abnormalities and that my life was at risk. But Wisconsin Republicans' extreme abortion ban forced us to leave the state to get the care that I needed. It was a nightmare. Eric Hovde pushed to end Roe v. Wade. And in the Senate, Hovde would give Mitch McConnell the majority to ban abortion nationwide. No exceptions for rape, incest, or the health of women like me. What is wrong with these guys?
Well, with just 43 days left until Election Day, the presidential candidates are not slowing down when it comes to the fight to win Battleground Wisconsin. Vice President Kamala Harris was here in Madison on Friday addressing a crowd of supporters at the Coliseum at the Alliant Energy Center.
We know this is going to be a tight race until the very end. So let's not pay too much attention to the polls, because let's be clear, we are the underdog in this race, and we have some hard work ahead of us. But here's the thing, we like hard work.
A new AARP poll released this week shows Harris up by only 1 point among likely voters here in Wisconsin. That'll do it for us this week on For the Record. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
This has been For the Record.